So this is the first and probably last time I'm gonna make a video like this. It's basically just me dissecting the negative comments in the Twitter hypersexualization video I made. The reason I'm making it is because there was just a bunch of comments I want to give my opinions about and make some clarifications. And also, just because it's called dissecting negative comments doesn't mean like all the comments here are negative. I'd say like the majority of them are just chill, like this one for example. You know, like it's a differing opinion, but a person just chill with it, so there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But so yeah, I just plan to like read through these and give my thoughts on them. So to start off with this one, they say you can't really compare Arknights E2 art to a splash art of a Genshin character that serves as a teaser or a reveal of a character. That actually is a mistake I made. The art that I talked about wasn't his actual art, like the bigger one. There is like an art that has more detail to it later on. I just used that one because when I looked his name up on Google, that was like the first one that appeared, but turns out there was actually more developed art. In Arknights, the art is all you get. You can have voice lines, be it as an assistant in combat or so, but the art is all you'll ever see of a character. So all the tiny details are there to show off their personality and development. On the other hand, in Genshin, you have idle animations, combat animations, plenty of voice lines. 5 stars even have special animation for the bursts to show off more of their personality. That's not really true because they probably haven't played Arknights recently, but in Arknights, you have the operator records. When you go into them, it's just a story about that operator. Not for every operator, in time there will be, but there is that there to see more about the characters. And even in terms of animations, you can see more about a character within their animations. Most of the animations are just pretty bland, like, okay, they look a bit strong because the skill is activated, but within some of them you could see the actual character within the animations, but I would say Genshin has that more so. Just like you're able to point at the things about Golden Glow from her image, same could be done with Hayato. He wears formal clothes, showing he is someone important. He is a head of the Kamisato clan, leader of Yashiro Commission, and he leads a secret organization. The clothes are inspired by Meiji era in feudal Japan, and if that was enough, the background has icons for the location he's from. You can see 2 swords for a dojo, a shrine gates with a flower and a fox, so he must be from Inazuma, the Japan-inspired region. He has blue vision, the charm, so he uses water element, and so the splash art does about what it needs to do. For everything else, there's always a trailer showcasing the character better. So the problem I'm having with this is, it tells me about the character in a very broad sense, you know? He wears formal clothes, so he's someone important. That doesn't really mean much, you know? If a character wears noble clothes, then okay, they're noble. But in many different stories, there's nobles that are for the people, and there's also nobles that are against the people. I don't really know what he is, you know? He could be someone important, and he could be important of a, let's say, evil organization, or of a good organization. I don't really know that from the clothes. And when it comes to his clothes showing the location he's from, that also doesn't really tell me much. It tells me he's from that area, but like I'm from Canada, so that doesn't inherently mean I'm nice as hell and, you know, drink maple syrup out of the bottle. I mean, I have drank maple syrup out of the bottle, but that's besides the point. It still doesn't really give me much about the character, just in a very broad sense. And then the charm shows that he uses water element. Now I don't know too much about it. Maybe in Genshin the element you use says something about you, kind of like the whole Nen system in Hunter x Hunter. But to my knowledge it doesn't inherently say that. So the water element is like, yeah, he uses water, but I don't know if that says stuff about his character. Unless I just don't know when it does, but to my knowledge it doesn't from like what I've known, but I could be wrong. This comment says, background isn't part of the character. What, the little girl doesn't walk around with still images of broken computers behind her? What are you even talking about? This is so bad. BC. I try to read it as best it was written. And what the fuck does BC mean? Like British Columbia? I don't know. Now see, the problem with this comment is, I feel as though they've never heard about the word symbolism, and they probably cannot comprehend the fact that a character's art and the background used within it could then be used to represent the character. You know, it's not attached to the character, but it represents parts of them. Feels as though that connection was missing. If a character needs to rely on a background in order to show us something about the character, then the design itself is flawed, at least in the visual storytelling aspect. As for the Arknight's pink-haired girl, the background seems unnecessary. Her design already tells you what you need to know, making the background redundant. The one main reason why she has a background is to show she has an evolved form. Funny enough, taking the background away from the character doesn't seem evolved aside from changing her pose, but I think it's more easy to do that than create a new design that can capture all the details of her base CG and giving the impression of an upgrade, up rank as well. I honestly don't see why they dislike the idea of a background for a character. I think it looks completely fine because it just adds symbolism. I don't really think it's a flaw at all, really. So I just don't understand what they mean there. But when it comes to the background being unnecessary, I don't really agree, because the background shows how powerful she is, and it also helps to showcase how she doesn't have control of it. You could kind of see it within her art of her hair being filled up, but that would maybe only give you the idea that she can't control it, but nothing to do with the power, you know? So I feel as though the background was necessary to showcase more about the character, and I don't really see why it's a bad thing to have, in their opinion, because in my opinion, I actually quite like the backgrounds of the characters. I think that's like the best part of it. Whilst I think the characters in Arknights who don't really have all that much for the background is kind of, I just don't like that art as much as like the other arts out there that have like a lot more in the background. Let me say this, you can't compare a post-apocalyptic modern world setting to a more fantasy-esque world. Both Genshin and Arknights is a game rich with lore, and their clothing is usually related to the lore. I would agree if we were comparing clothing, but we're not. I'm not really looking at the drip, I'm looking at how the drip relates to showcasing their character. So it doesn't matter what the fuck they're wearing, as long as it relates back into showcasing the character in a more specific sense. Not going to lie, the argument about copying history is kind of bullshit to me. I'd rather see a good inspiration from history done with taste than a girl who can't control thunder/magnetism, and because of that she has a ruffled up hair. It's something we constantly see everywhere, it's nothing new. Not saying that Ayato instead is new and fresh, especially because it is inspired from history, but in that specific comparison, calling Ayato lifeless or a bad copy when praising a character that can't control their power, and whatever the fuck that is meant to me, MHE. Okay, I understood what they meant except for like the last line, but where was this man going? What was he cooking? So I feel as though they don't understand what I mean when I call him like lifeless or any of that. It's because I call it lifeless, the design, because it doesn't showcase anything about the character. You know, it takes inspiration from history, but it doesn't tell me anything about the character. Golden Glow may be a very generic character, but it doesn't, her design tells me stuff about her. I can't say the same with Ayato. And if we're to look at things in a broader sense, I would say at this time, so many stories have been made to the point where any character you can make is some trope that has already been done before. At this point, the only way to make a unique character is to take a trope and then spin it in a different light, but you're still going to be taking a trope. So I feel as though in a broader aspect, most characters that come out nowadays, you could fit within categories of going like, okay, this character's like this one's like this. There's character archetypes and they're built up, you know, people have sort of written down how writing is. But yeah, calling Ayato lifeless isn't because of his character. I'm calling his design lifeless because it doesn't tell me anything about his character. That's a North American opinion, not Genshin. Instead of crying about some fictional worlds, they should deal with tons of neo-Nazis on their own country first. Ha 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 ha. What in the fuck did I just read? What the fuck? You know what the best part is? That ain't even the worst comment on the video. I'm show you the worst comment, you're gonna see that one later. I feel like using summer skins and summer versions in your argument is stupid to begin with. Like, no shit, a character in a swimsuit looks hot, not to mention that most of the time in the story, they're at least somewhere where wearing a swimsuit makes sense, but of course they are fan service, it's a fucking summer event. Practically every gacha does that, FFS. Okay, I'm just gonna come clean. What the fuck does FFS mean? Bro, I feel like a boomer. The only one I can think of off the top of my head that could even be considered fan service besides the summer ones is Schwartz. I like her, but they would definitely point at her. And I reply, the thing with Utage is the fact that her tits are bigger than her head. Also, there's Tomimi's Z2 art, which, yeah, that is a mistake I made. The two arts that I showed as examples were Utage's, which I don't think you could defend that because her tits are quite literally bigger than her head. Like, as long as that's showcased, it's gonna kind of just be hypersexualized, as it's a bit unrealistic. And then I showcased Neurals, but honestly that does is just, it's a fucking swimsuit, so of course it's gonna be like that. But I think Tomimi's fits in more with hypersexualization, because, I mean, bro, look at that shit. That's from Azure Lane. I could say that because I've fucking started playing the game. That's from Azure Lane, bro, I swear to God. I agree with the point of the video, obviously, but I cannot believe an Arknights player called Genshin boring. Bro, you literally play a tower defense game. The pixels on your monitor barely change. You might as well be staring at a straight picture for hours and go, woo, baby, that's what I've been waiting for, that's what it's all about. Whenever the pixels on screen change in millisecond. You essentially called bingo fun and 3D open world battle mechanics boring. I think you're just old and wrong. Motherfucker, I'm 20. At the time they made that, I actually think I was 19 though. Actually, deadass, that was before my birthday, so I actually think I was 19. Suck it, but still. It's kind of fucking dumb. Because here's the thing. This isn't really the first comment of its kind that I've gotten, and they confuse me as hell when they look at one game I play and then base all games I play around that to judge them. Here's a fucking thing, right? Here are the games I play. Okay, let me take that one back. You see all the gacha games? That's for streams I'm planning. Don't look at them. I do not play that many gacha games. I'm not a fucking degenerate, you know? You feel me straight up. I ain't that fucking far removed. But if you're gonna look at one game I play, and then say I cannot judge Genshin Impact because of that, you're a moron because I've played Devil May Cry and Elden Ring, and that isn't even it for this fucking list. You know, I've played majority of the games on the fucking PlayStation 4. But to go like, oh, you play one game, therefore you can't have opinions on others is stupid. Like, if I said, oh, Devil May Cry, amazing game, Genshin boring, does that then justify my opinion? You know, does that then make it better? It's like people could play different genres. Like, are you motherfuckers just going like, bro, I play action games and nothing the fuck else. If I want to play a game, I don't give a shit what genre it is. I'ma fucking play it, you know? And then Genshin Impact is boring. Not because how it relates to Arknights, but because how it relates to other action RPGs. If you could relate, it's like an action open world. I don't really feel as though it's an RPG. I feel as though most games that are called RPGs aren't really fucking RPGs, but that's neither here nor there. It's boring by comparison to the other things within genre. You know, it's boring by comparison to Tower of Fantasy, and it's better than Breath of the Wild, like straight up. Crucify me for that shit, but Breath of the Wild, in terms of combat, fucking boring. Absolutely boring. It'd be kind of stupid to compare a tower defense to the gameplay of a different genre, because it's a different genre. And it's also stupid as hell to look at one game a person plays, and then think that's all they've ever played, when I've played hundreds of games. Imagine taking seriously what a Genshin player says. Imagine taking seriously what a Twitter user says. This is a take I don't really agree with, because I don't really think it's like when you look at toxic Genshin comments, I don't really think it's a Genshin thing. I think it's more so like a Twitter thing. So I agree with like the second part, because I think Twitter is absolutely fucking dog shit. Because I feel as though the thing with Genshin is like, it's the most popular gacha game by far. Nothing even comes fucking close to it. And because of its popularity, you're gonna have a lot of people that are just negative within that. You know, if you have like 10% of a game's population being negative, if you have 1 billion people playing something, that's a lot more than something that has like 1,000 people playing it. Therefore, it could be like, oh, they look more toxic, but same percent. Which is why I think it'd be weird to say like, oh, it's a Genshin community problem. I think it's more so just a Twitter problem, because that just inherently, by how the fucking platform works, showcases toxic stuff more than, you know, that fucking reality would. So I don't really fully agree with just saying like, ew, Genshin player, ew, bad, because it's just kind of weird to look at one game a person plays and then base everything around that. Kind of coming back to the previous comment. Now this one is by far the worst comment. I'm not reading it all. If you want to read it, pause it, and I'm gonna warn you, don't. The first sentence, they start off with racism, so you could tell it's off to a fucking banger. And I don't know what the fuck this person was cooking, bro. I don't know what fucking reality they were in. Bro, I swear to God, they go off on some different shit. Like, I don't know what fucking video they read, bro. I swear to God. Like, it is weird as hell. And the spacing is also weird, which makes me imagine that it kind of looks like that because they kind of like selected and deleted a couple sentences. They probably went like, nah, that sentence, that's too much. I can't say that on like a comment section. Which then makes me wonder how bad that is, considering they were completely fine with putting racism in their comment. Okay, but the thing is, and strictly talking about design of characters, Genshin characters are full 3D, and while I agree that the Arknights characters look better, they should, because most of the interactions stay at live 2D, and at most, and your character in-game is a chibi, and storytelling comes in a visual novel style, which demands a lot of detail in the splasher, while Genshin must have all things— my god bro, put a fucking period, holy shit. While Genshin must have all the things you see displayed on the 2D, move and change with each animation set, and so the designs have to be less flare and more— where is this fucking period? Does this actually works when the character moves? So, from a design perspective, gachas like Ark or Azure should be more detailed, representing more of the character's personality, history, story in the 2D splash, while the Genshin characters should have less stuff on them, as everything from them will be displayed to you in their moveset and cutscenes, and that's a big point when comparing and talking about designs in games like these ones. Rest of the conversation is just dumb Twitter stuff. I don't really agree with that, mainly because a bunch of the Arknights character models have been made into 3D character models. I could maybe agree with it in the sense of, since Genshin has like a strict time frame to do shit in, because live service game. Maybe they don't want to make them as complicated because it would take more to create the 3D model, but I feel as though when it comes down to just creating the art, they could just have an artist go like, hey, here's the character's personality, put more shit into it and all that. So maybe it is within the 3D model and the time it takes, but I also feel as though with how much money they make, they would have enough time to do that, honestly. Isn't Ayato like this Sly Fox from behind the scenes character anyway? Why compare these completely different character types? You can compare them because it isn't depending on how they are similar or stuff like that. It just depends on how the art showcases the character. So I feel as though that doesn't really matter. Now on to the last comment and why I am never going to make a video like this again. This dude plays a 2D replay simulator and really has the balls to call Genshin a bad game. Let's compare splash art between our 2D game that literally only has a chibi version of the character to a 3D game that has a model you can actually control the character. There are bad takes, then there is this video. I feel as though I've already covered all of what they said in the prior comments, but it's some dumb shit, it's some dumb shit. And then this guy comes in and says, my guy can't take a different opinion. It's personally my stance to think that if a person says a game is bad, they mean it's bad for them. Unless of course they're blatantly blaring it out for the world to see. Genshin just wasn't for him because he's used to Arknights, a story-driven game that focuses on its tactics and multitude of units to experiment with, probably because Genshin is an exploration-based game that focuses more on the stunning visuals and synergies with elements. That isn't why I found Genshin boring, because I like games like that. I found Genshin boring because the combat is literally pop a skill, move character, pop a skill, move character, pop a skill. And then I reply, speaking of bad takes, Arknights characters have been made into 3D models before. Just because a splash art has ever put into it, doesn't mean that a 3D model can exist for a character. Also, I don't compare Genshin to Arknights in the broader aspect of a game. Art is similar enough to compare. There are too many differences. I compare it to Tower of Fantasy and Breath of the Wild. In comparison to the former, Genshin has worse combat, exploration, and gacha. Also, it's kind of weird for you to take one game I play and then base that around my opinions for all other games. And naturally I like it because I am a narcissist. And then he replies to the former comment, I mean, if you actually watch the video and if he actually phrased his opinion like you, I wouldn't give a damn about it. Now see, I'm a bit confused on what he means by that, because if he means it within, I didn't find it for me, I said that. I literally said like, hey, if you like it, you'll like it, but it's not for me. That shit, because I played the game and found, wow, that's fucking boring. If you like it, you like it. That's your, preference. I won't exactly go to shit on it. Just for me, it doesn't work. Which makes me think they didn't watch the video, as that's literally what I said in it. And even if they meant it for the last sentence, it still doesn't really make sense, because that basically comes down to it wasn't meant for me, and then that's what I said. So I'm beginning to think they just kind of went into like a fucking blind rage, like some berserker state after I said I didn't like the game. So that's a skill issue, obviously. And then they replied to me, LMAO, thankfully I know what that one means. Keep huffing that copium. Thanks for telling me you know nothing about game quality. My bad, I thought you were a troll at first, now I understand that you actually have no idea what you were talking about, so I'll stop commenting from now. Have a nice day. Now see, the highlight of that comment is, they did me the pleasure of fucking off, so thank you for that one. And when it comes to the whole copium, I don't know what the fuck they mean, because where in my comment is there copium? I just stated my opinion. That's my opinion. There isn't really any copium in that. It's what I think. So I don't really know what the fuck they mean by that. I feel as though after they read my comment, instead of actually thinking about it and coming to their own thoughts, they just went like, I have nothing to say, so I'm gonna go down the list. If you have nothing to say on an argument on the internet, you say, hey, you're on copium, you're a troll, and I'm leaving because I'm smarter than you. I feel as though they just went through like the list of that shit, probably went to like a wiki how to find it out. So in other words, some dumb shit. And here's why I won't make more videos like this. Because I feel as though even if I give up my thoughts on this, people just won't care to really hear my opinions and would just immediately dissuade it. Immediately go like, no, that's wrong because I don't like you, I don't like your opinions, therefore anything you say must be wrong. People much rather do that than just think for once. So that's why I feel as though a video like this would just be pointless to make over and over. I just want to do it now because, I mean, some of the comments were fucking funny. Like, the fucking neo-Nazi one is still fucking funny. I don't know what the fuck they were on. But within a broader aspect, I don't understand why people really hated my opinion that I found Genshin to be boring, because, I mean, it's my opinion. What the fuck does it matter? If I think something about whatever, what does that matter to you? If you play the game, then that's all that matters. If I don't like it, how does that matter to you? I play many games that people don't like. In fact, Danganronpa V3 is one of my favorite games. People fucking hate the ending of that game. People absolutely despise it. I don't care. I like the ending. If people don't like it, okay, I can understand why. Doesn't matter to me. I like the ending. It is what it is. I feel as though people put too much stock into another's opinion. Well, it's just another's opinion. It doesn't fucking matter. But yeah, some people really didn't like the opinion I gave that I dislike Genshin because, I mean, I still don't fucking know why. Like, what the fuck does it matter? You don't know me, I don't know you. Why do you care about my opinion that much? But some people disliked it so much to the point where I started noticing there was a lot more dislikes on videos that I've already uploaded in the past and they didn't really have any dislikes, or like where I kind of like 99% liked a dislike and then just kind of got like nudged down a bit. So yeah, a couple of people didn't like that. Also, I saw a couple comments on the Genshin video. A couple of comments, people didn't like that video either. But yeah, I just don't really understand it. If somebody has a different opinion than you, it doesn't matter, you know? People could disagree. Then grow the fuck up. But yeah, I don't really wish to make another video like this, as I feel as though if anything, it would just promote negativity in the comments. And I don't really like that, because even with this, I feel as though like 99.9% of the comments I got were positive within just everything on YouTube. And I like that, you know? So I don't really wish to promote any negativity. And I could say if you hear a differing opinion than yours, just don't harass the person. Their opinion doesn't matter all that much. Their opinion matters towards them, and that's it. It's an opinion. You could still fucking big chill with your own thoughts. But yeah, I don't really wish to make any more of this because I don't really wish to spread any negativity. Just want to make this one to do it, and because these comments are mad funny, dog, like straight up. Even though some of them were really negative and stupid, I still had a blast reading them because they were just that stupid.